So I got a bit of a problem here. This is a first generation DDR cabinet, and my flashlight just ran out of battery. Okay. And this is a Bamani PC. This is third generation hardware. In order for this hardware to work with a first generation cabinet, it needs to be connected to something called an EXT-IO, which I have mounted over here, right there, that metal box. And the issue I'm having is that ever since I bought this Bamani PC and the Python 2 that runs Supernova, it came with this EXT-IO, except the person who sold it to me didn't provide the complete cabling kit. Usually when you get an official upgrade kit for first generation cabinet, the EXT-IO wiring is supposed to come with kind of like an adaptive harness. I've got my JAMMA harness connected to my Mini-Maid right now, but normally I would connect that JAMMA harness into an extender, and that would have all the cabling for the EXT-IO connected. That would go to this JAMMA blade over here. But since I don't know where I can get another harness, I thought I would just make the rest of the cabling myself. So I've got cabling here that I've made. There's a few wires coming out of the EXT-IO back there that I made. There's player 1 and player 2 back there, and somewhere over there is the base lights and the power. The issue I have right now is that the wire that goes from the EXT-IO to this JAMMA harness, it's kind of a funny little hack that I did. So this is kind of my ghetto wiring here. That connector goes to the EXT-IO. On the other end, I attached terminals for DDR sensors to the ends of it, and I kind of use these ends to just shim them into the correct pin. And of course, it's not exactly the correct way to do it. It's kind of annoying and potentially dangerous, but it worked. So what I want to do here is that I want to do all of this properly. So what I've got here is my EXT-IO to JAMMA harness cable. And then I've got my JAMMA harness extender. I'm going to take these ends and splice them into the correct wire going into the correct pin. I got this product called 3M Scotch Lock. What these are supposed to do is make my life easy. All I would have to do is take one of these wires and put them into this Scotch Lock and put the corresponding wire from the JAMMA harness here and just kind of lock them together, and that's how it would splice the wires together. Over here I've got the JAMMA pinout just for reference, and thankfully I've labeled these wires so I have an idea of where these are supposed to go. Of course, you got a ground, supposed to be pin 18, pin 21, it's one player right, this is supposed to be V, this goes to 2-player up, that's Y, 2-player right. Which end is pin 1? It's going to be at the end where there's 2 grounds, 2 positive 5 volts and a negative 5 volt and a positive 12. If you look at it this way, you can see these are supposed to be ground, and then you got 2 5 volt positives, 5 volt negative, and 12. So this has to be pin 1 here. So as far as the Scotch lock goes, I've seen a lot of off-brand Scotch locks that haven't really had many good reviews. It's kind of like an easy way out to splicing. But these ones by 3M have a lot of good reviews, and a lot of people say they work just fine, so I'm just going to take the easy way out of splicing these wires. Let's start with an easy one. We've got ground here. That's easy. There's only a few places we can put that. So let's snip this terminal. We don't need it anymore. Let's find the best place to splice this. So this is going to be as pin 1 here. And where do we want to splice it? Maybe this end or this end. Like, a lot of the wires are going to be on this side, so I think having a ground at the very end here is going to be better. Pin 28 is this wire here. So let's get a good, like, sort of a middle spot on the JAMMA harness. So it's going to be this only black wire here on this EXT cable that I've made. So we want to take the constant wire first, the one that's still intact, just run it through here, this part of the Scotch lock. And then in the other end, this is where you are going to put the wire that you want to tap into. So something like this. Yeah, it's going to be in this end here. Keep it in as far as you possibly can. And then just all you have to do is close this thing as tight as you can. Yeah, we're going to need pliers for this. So just take this and close. Clamp it shut. All right, so that should be secured. There's like a little metal slit here that presses down on both of the wires. It's not like a full blade, but there are a couple of holes in here. There's 2 slits here for the wire, so they're not cutting straight through. They're just going to break through the insulation, and it's going to conduct the electricity and kind of bridge the wires together. Make sure everything's nice and snug. All right, seems good. All right, we just bridged our ground. So now that the first one's done, let's take care of the rest here. Wire that's supposed to tap into this fell out. So now I have to fight my way to get this down properly. Should be okay. All right, now I can close this. I think I've managed to salvage this. It looks like we may have salvaged this one. So we're ready to prepare the next ones that are going to be, they're going to be on the solder side, which means that they're going to be the same wire, but the except it's going to be the one underneath. All right, there we have it. We have connected the EXT IO cable to our JAMMA extender. So now we're going to connect it to the cabinet and test it out. We got a Python 2 hooked up to our new JAMMA harness. There's our new wiring job. Now we just wait for the moment of truth. Oh no, foot panel error. What happened? Something must not be wired right. Just had to find out what was really going on, so I went and got my multimeter here to test the current within these Scotch locks, and apparently none of them were getting a constant current. I had to break into the Scotch locks here. The blade that cuts through the constant wire wasn't breaking through enough to get into the actual wire part. It was barely breaking through the insulation. So I had to break those open and kind of just dig at the wire a little bit to get some of the insulation off, test with the multimeter here, and check for a current. Let's get this thing here, set it to check current, and this is the last one I'm working on here. So if I open this one, just get a look here. Yeah, so you have to make sure that this wire is slightly exposed so that it gets in touch with this metal here. Take one end here and then connect it with this wire here. Let's see, come on. Getting anything? No? Nothing? Hold on. It was working earlier. Just let me open this up a little more. Okay. Let's test this out. And success. There we go. I had something along the lines of a tutorial video setup showing how to splice wires using Scotch locks, but turns out that Scotch locks, the Scotch lock is by 3M. Turns out these things are pretty much garbage. What I was planning to do was show a tutorial on how to splice the EXTIO cabling to the JAMMA harness here. Except that after I did all this work using all the Scotch locks, I did everything properly, I hooked everything up, I kept getting errors, and it just simply would not work. So I just went back to my old method of just crimping some terminals to the ends of the wires and just shoving it into the back of the JAMMA harness. While I was doing all that work too, I kind of I was a little rough with the JAMMA harness here and kind of broke this. This is pin 18, which is the one player up arrow. Yeah, and I don't have any soldering tools right now, so couldn't really easily get that reattached. This is kind of a flimsy extender anyway. It's one of those Chinese-made JAMMA harnesses that you see on eBay all the time. Found out about mikesarcade.com, and I found that they have a JAMMA extender that looks a lot more well-made than the Chinese counterpart here. Thought, what the heck, I need a replacement anyway since I just broke this one. Yeah, they sent me a nice little pen here for shopping with them. Yeah, mikesarcade.com. Might as well give this a shot here. And from what I see right now, everything is pre-crimped. No soldered parts. Everything is crimped neatly, especially the blade end of the extender. Yeah, everything is numbered here, and on the solder side you get the lettering as well. You don't get that on this Chinese made one. Basically, I'm just going to stick to the old plan of putting the terminal ends into the back of the JAMMA harness here, and everything should just work. Our little pin hack here, 5 wires basically just jammed into the back of the harness here. Got the ground back there, 2 player up, 2 player right, as well as 1 player right over there, and then 1 player up is somewhere back there. Should be basically in like the same spot in just the opposite end. Let's see if this works. Well, what do you know? No error. Everything's working just fine now. Alright, but yeah, that's basically all I wanted to share. Point of this story is Scotch locks suck and Mike's Arcade is awesome. Alright, see you next time.